Welcome to this episode of the Nitch Life. By now, you may be wondering about who I am, where I came from, and what inspired me to create the Nitch Life. If you've watched the first few episodes, I'm sure you've drawn some assumptions by now. The truth is, I'm somebody just like you, who has spent the past couple of decades through trial and error trying to crack the code of how we discover our life's unique truths, let go of false truths, and create a sustainable stream of meaningful joy and fulfillment in life based on these truths. We're not talking about a universal formula advanced by people who would like you to think they have it all together, but how we utilize the tools of wisdom, our experiences, and failures to unravel the emotional DNA within our heart and soul to shed light on our niche life. I don't have a one-size-fits-all answer to finding happiness and fulfillment in life, and if you come across anyone who suggests they do have such answers, proceed with caution. However, you can find the answers in defining your own life's joy and fulfillment. And my mission is to inspire you to travel your unique journey, creating your own unique niche life, and sharing your interests and talents with the world around you. So here's a glimpse into my niche life. My earliest memories in life were comprised of movies and music. I loved going to our small town, one-screen, 1930s era state theater as often as I could. That marquee was like a shining brushstroke of magic in the night. I was drawn not only to the characters and storylines on the screen, but most importantly, the music. One of my favorite gifts as a child was a tape cassette copy of the John Williams score dubbed from an LP vinyl record from the very first Star Wars film back in the late 70s. I realized very early how music's narrative can reach us on every conceivable emotional level. At age 11, my life as a composer began, thanks in part to a piano that was loaned to our family. From that moment and through my teenage years, my life and free time revolved around creating music for piano, and through the use of cheap synthesizers I scraped money together to buy. I was very drawn to film scores, new age and new wave music, making rough multi-track demos using 2 tape recorders. My other niche interest was serving as the family audio documentarian, taking photos with every camera I could get my hands on, and begging a neighborhood friend to set up his parents' video camera VCR combo to shoot improvised shows and little films. Few people knew this side of me, as I also spent those years trying to make my father proud through my accomplishments on the baseball and football field. Later in high school, I became involved in politics and ended up pursuing a political science direction instead of music in college. However, music quietly remained center stage in my life through the next decade, unbeknownst to most. Through those years, I was very fortunate having the opportunity to work for a U.S. president, a governor. I spent a year in law school and transitioned into the not-for-profit professional association world. Around the same time, about 14 years ago, after I moved to Chicago, the doorway to my niche life opened up through an opportunity to begin composing music for independent film. My film and music interest moved from the backseat of my life into the passenger seat. Around 2004, I began shooting my own short subject documentaries and launched my first feature documentary film project in 2008. Soon, the time requirements began to hit a ceiling as I balanced my family and work life. I began to find ways to inject my music and creativity into my day job, which got the wheels turning in my mind of how I could transpose all of these interests into something I could build on my own, and 6 years ago, Social Frequency was born. A small company built around the totality of my niche interests and continuing lifelong desire to make a meaningful difference in the world around me. As a lifelong introvert, I humbly wouldn't consider myself to be a dynamic leader. Rather, I look at myself as a locksmith, here to share tools which will help you unlock your niche life on your own. While I must confess, it's a little embarrassing putting myself out here in this manner, I concluded it was the best possible way to make a meaningful difference in the lives of others based upon my experiences. I discovered the biggest difference we can make in this lifetime is to be ourselves and inspire others to make their own unique difference in the world, no matter how big or small the stage. In the end, a tiny spark of inspiration is like a priceless seed planted in fertile soil, left to grow over time and ultimately harvested to motivate the positive actions of others. I spent nearly 20 years of my life traveling against the grain of my niche life, chasing the American dream just like everybody else, climbing the ladder, and desiring all the material spoils of success, which only left me exhausted and empty despite my successes. For many years, I thought something was wrong with me, that somehow I was defective and just couldn't put it all together. I tried to emulate others who seemed to have it all figured out and only sank deeper when I inevitably fell short. I've always been inspired and comforted by my favorite quote from the legendary 1939 film, The Wizard of Oz, when Dorothy confronts the wizard and says, "Oh, you're a bad man." And the wizard responds in a humbled tone, "Oh no, my dear, I'm a very good man. I'm just a very bad wizard." The truth, I discovered, is there was absolutely nothing wrong with me, nor is there anything wrong with you. I just wasn't allowing myself to accept the simple fact that I was human, and like everyone else, my life is comprised of talents, strengths, weaknesses, and glorious imperfections, all of which are a natural part of the human experience. I reached a point where I fully accepted myself, the truth of who I was, and more importantly, who I wasn't and never would be. From those moments, my whole world changed, and my niche life began to grow. Suddenly, my mind was finally working in unison with my heart and soul, and those many things I previously thought were so important, embarrassingly became unimportant. And those aspects of my niche life I redefined as being important became everything to me. When I look back, I spent more time running away from my niche life than running toward my niche life. I've chalked up my share of failures, I've made plenty of bad decisions in life, and know the sting of regret. Today, my life is filled with joy and fulfillment, but I still have days of disappointment, frustration. But that's all a natural part of the niche journey and simply being human. So here's your niche writing exercise for this episode. At the top of a page, write, "This is my niche story." Think back over your life about the things that have mattered most to you since childhood, as well as those things which have mattered least. Write about where and how you spend the majority of your waking hours, and assess how close you are to living your niche life each day. Be sure to write your response in your niche journal at the end of the episode. But before we go, I'd like to share with you another niche TV short documentary, which I believe illustrates someone who has followed their own niche life. Dan Carey has been passionate about brewing beer his entire life, and has the resume and credentials to prove it. Though he's from San Francisco, he, along with his wife Deb, decided to start a brewery over 20 years ago in a small Wisconsin town. Let's take a look at their niche journey.
Oh, serendipity. It's delicious.
Yeah.
We just
had
busted, yeah. I like the cherry the best.
Cherry's good.
I like the raspberry, but I'll take the totally.
Sounds okay.
Yep. She actually was a big part of that project as well, so she really was a good person to ask. Yeah. So yeah, she's learning about it too.
Yeah, we're all kind of learning as we go, to be honest with you, but we're going.
You're going, yeah. You're still learning. Yep.
Yeah.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, enjoy it. All right, enjoy yourselves. Come back when you're ready for the next one.
If you're ready to check out, I can help you right here. There you go.
Bring it over right here, miss.
This is the mash. This is the louder ton, and that is the mash that you're looking at. And I'm separating the solids from the liquids. So it's full, like liquid and grain. All I want is the liquid. I don't want the protein, the vitamins. Making good beer is relatively easy, particularly in the modern world, because there's a lot of technology in the internet, and suppliers have made it relatively easy for a brewery to start and for people to make good beer. To make great beer is very, very hard.
to make world-class beer is probably multiple lives. I've been brewing beer since 1978, and I'm still learning. It's that fine tuning of that last little bit to make perfect beer. It's a fleeting and difficult process because small changes have huge impacts, and it takes weeks, if not months, to make beer, and then it might sit in a bottle for many, many months. So the changes that the effects of a cause may not be easily determined. You may not know what you did, why this beer tastes great or why this beer tastes bad. Hence that's a scientific aspect. And so brewing becomes very convoluted, very confusing, very chaotic. Again, like science, you're looking at lots of data and you're looking for causes and effects amongst a haystack of data. And it's hard to find that needle. And it takes lots of repetition and lots of discipline and attention to detail. This is a brewery that was started by a woman. That would never happen in Singapore. That would never happen in Germany. It only happens in forward-thinking countries like the United States. And that's what makes this country great, and that's why you will not find more patriotic people than Deb and I, because we know that it's not just a cliche. We know that it's true.
I consider myself to be the founder of the brewery, and the reason being because Dan was really focused on the equipment, and we have to give him credit because he's here working every day. But I negotiated all the equipment. I was the sole representative of the offering, which no woman has ever done before. And I raised all that money by myself.
Beer is very much an art because it's about flavor, but it's also a science.
I mean, we've been married for 30 years, and I'm very much a morning person. He's very much an afternoon person. Working together is not as romantic as you would think, but it does, makes for a very rich relationship. And he takes care of all the production issues. And then I'm more, home-based. I take care of wholesalers, investors, banking, all the marketing. I draw the labels.
When I met Deb, she lived in a trailer that I think she paid $5,000 for. That was a lot of money. And basically, was working as a janitor.
I was cleaning bathrooms and trying to pay my way through college and doing a little art on the side and making people's logos and graphics. And that's when I met Dan.
We started 20 years ago. Our first year, we made 900 barrels. So basically, for all intents and purposes, it was Deb and I, and then we hired one guy, and we were in a brewery. 900 barrels, we will make 145,000 barrels this year, but 20 years ago we made 900 barrels.
He went to Germany and he served a brewing apprenticeship. After that, he was also went to Siebel's. They had a long course then. He was valedictorian of his class.
Brewing is, for me, is an artistic expression. It's like being a chef or somebody making a painting. It's about flavor, and that's what drives pretty much most of my thinking during the day.
He is a diploma master brewer, and he's one of only a handful in the United States.
You produce a beer and it's perfect when it leaves the brewery, and it's like sending your children out into the world, and then you lose control of them, and they come under the influences of the outside world. Is the beer kept cold? Is it served at the proper temperature? Is the beer glass clean? Are the draft lines clean? Is it being pushed with the proper gas? And if those things are not done properly, your little baby can really go astray, and it's awful.
No one has passed it besides him since 1987. It's very rigorous. And it was so impressive that the people from that university in London wrote a number of letters to the higher ups at Anheuser-Busch to let him know how gifted they thought he was. So he really does know his stuff. He is a little brewery sponge. He has yeast in his veins.
all people dancing, my dream people sing. And people come, all people come, people come and go. And that is alright with me. I dreamed I'm always dying, dying all the time. All I've been looking to see, oh, I've been looking to see what I can't never seem to find. And that is alright with me. Till the morn, until that morning.
This is our original Riverside Brewery. That's what we call it now. Behind you there's a little creek, and so that's why it's called Riverside. But as we grew in 2005, we had maxed out this brewery. We thought we were going to be maybe a 15 or 20,000 barrel brewery and just pay our bills. But we had brewed something like 65,000 or 68,000 barrels of beer, and literally had no more room, and sales were up 75%. And I mean, I just walked around saying the F word under my breath about every 10 seconds, because it's not thrilling to be like maxed out. You know, what are you going to do? So I searched around for property and eventually found a very nice piece of land on the exact opposite end of New Glarus, which is all of 1 mile from here. And I was thinking I'd take you up there and show you our new hilltop facility. So he wanted to do this, not so much for production. We will use it for something, but it's not enough hops to run our brewery, but it is to show people what hops are.
Just fell off when I opened the door.
Yeah, I don't know why they keep coming around the doors. These are a rare frog. Look. See? It's changing color. I think this is a green peeper. But I really like frogs.
Do you?
Yeah, I do.
I think so.
He's jumping. I don't know if you were going to be able to get him out of here.
You don't think so?
Are you ready?
Yeah, I think so.
Hand off. He's cold. So you'll know
Yep,
when you
I got him.
Do you have him?
Yep.
Okay, quick.
I'll go take him to the woods.
Okay. Hey, there's people like circling the parking lot. So be aware, there's 2 cars of people. And I told them we weren't open yet, but maybe you should start heading down there.
Pretty good problem to have, huh?
Yeah, well, we have this problem all the time, but you never know. Some days they hang out and no one comes. So I have to warn them. Did you get that puppy? There's some rescue puppies. You haven't found out yet.
Found out yet.
Did you call him?
I left a message with you, but I heard back from him.
Oh, damn.
Someone called me yesterday while I was back here working, and
It was probably them.
probably her, and I didn't have an opportunity to pick up the phone.
Well, you feel free to go take off and call them again.
Shit.
You should.
They're cute.
They are cute. Okay, I got my fingers crossed. There's some rescue little chocolate labs, and Adrian has a young family, and his dog's getting older too, and so he's been looking for one. And somebody emailed me a batch of these little lab puppies that are looking for homes. So we'll see what happens. That's the fun of having the brewery. Like there's somebody too had a big drama with the house. They're buying a new house and then something happened with it and they weren't going to be able to get it, and now they got another house with an accepted offer, and I think it's part of the fun.
Assisted at one or two of the recipes that Dan included in his beer, in his brewery. He creates them. He scribbles it all out, hands these grades of Mr. Finger. Okay. The brewery thing is, and I'll talk about this back there, when he writes it out, what do they
There's 3 miles of stainless tubing in this brewery. It was built by both union and non-union workers. I'm really proud of that. And you can see all the nice turns and curves and they're clean welds. You can't get food grade hand welding, I don't think, in any other part of the world done like this. And there's more than 27 miles of data cable in the brewery. He uses it when we get new varieties of grain or hops or the new harvest, and they'll make little tiny batches in there so that we can taste, you know, what's going on in that year's harvest. He doesn't really do pilot batches and then have little test batches and then here's what he's going to make. He thinks about flavors and then he usually just goes directly to making a commercial batch of beer.
In your all's lineup, past, present, what's been your favorite beer, new Glarus beer?
Well, of course, Spotted Cow on a summer night in a frosted mug to me is perfection. I like a nice fresh glass of Moon Man, but if I had the choice, we make a beer called Hometown Blonde, which is sort of a European, bohemian style Pilsner. I would, if that was available, hands down, I would pick that beer.
People ask me all the time, aren't you going to sell out of state? And I think, why? I mean, even the facility we just built is really, you know, if we continue at the current rate of growth, we'll outgrow it in, you know, less than 10 years, maybe 5. So there's not really any extra beer to send anywhere. There was somebody, I can't remember who had the quote during the election, something about, you know, what, you know, he's saying he built the business or, you know, whatever, how this conversation was happening on the internet, and kind of implying that, and they were saying it to me thinking I'd chime in, like, well, you built your own business, so you should be able to collect all of the riches that have accrued. And I'm like, no, like, are you kidding me? Do you see all the people who show up here and work hard and give their heart and soul? I mean, I'm not here running the fork truck and running the brews. I mean, everybody together. If you don't have a great bottling team and you're a brewer, you're a home brewer. You can't like pull people off the street and give them temporary work and minimum wage. What kind of crap is that? Ran into this guy that is in England and he builds ruins, and I was like, oh, this would be so cool. So I worked with him on the design, and now we're getting toward the end phase up here on the top. That's the brewmaster's office, and we serve beer in there on Saturday and Sundays. And then people can sit out here, and this is our granary, and you can see the big door where the horses would come in to deliver the grain, and the bottom of the silo for storing the grain. And then on this side is the bottle shop. And then the top that's getting finished now that we just walked through is the manor house, so people can sit up there. And we're going to have timbers and big columns of beams with hops growing on them for people to sit under and enjoy their beer on the hilltop.
Congratulations on your success.
Thank you very much.
That's so cool.
Yeah, thank you. We really appreciate it.
It's great to have a dream and make it work out.
There are a lot of things that we do at the brewery, and a lot of things that I did in construction that people were just shaking their heads. I mean, really, genuinely, like, oh my God, you know, this is nuts. And I'm like, no, I think this is going to work.
And I still do it that way, and I think it's good that I don't have a business background and I'm not really involved in the beer industry, because it allows me to be very creative in my solutions. Even now, I think sometimes people say things, because it's like, who the hell is she? I was 33 years old, little girl, and like, come on, you think your husband's so great? Seriously, And now I outsell all of them, so it's like, well, proof's in the pudding.
Be sure to subscribe to our Nitch TV channel on YouTube and join our Nitch TV community on Facebook. Until next time, may your heart be filled with strength, gratitude, passion, and purpose.